And for further insights on what repercussions we can expect from Trump's latest tariffs, let's speak now with Edward Alden, a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. Hi, Edward. On balance, can I start by asking you this? Is this what you were anticipating, a sliding scale with much higher tariffs for America's so-called worst offenders and coming down to that flat 10% base tax for everyone else?
No, this is considerably more dramatic, considerably more consequential than anything Donald Trump suggested during the election campaign, and even larger, I think, than some of us were anticipating over the last couple of weeks. I mean, if we look honestly at this, it's really a declaration of economic war on the whole world. And I don't think any of us expected anything quite that dramatic.
So, Edward, how do you think success or failure of these far-reaching tariffs will be measured by the Trump administration? And just how effective do you think these reciprocal tariffs will be in achieving his goals?
Well, I mean, I think you have to take him at face value when he explains what his goals are. He wants to raise substantial revenue for the U.S. Treasury. His White House trade advisor, Peter Navarro, has said the U.S. government anticipates $600 billion a year in tariff revenue. He would like to cut other taxes, needs the revenue to do that. He suggested that the revenue will be sufficient to reduce the U.S. national debt. Perhaps even he made references to the income tax being established in 1913. He even seemed to suggest we could go back to the good old days before the income tax. So everything that he said on the podium in the Rose Garden today suggested these tariffs are not a negotiating tactic. He intends for them to be in place for some significant period of time and to raise massive revenue for the U.S. government and to force companies, if they wish to sell in the U.S. market, to set up their businesses in the United States. So this is a complete repudiation of the world of global supply chains that has been built up over the last half century under U.S. leadership.
Edward, we know that Trump has not spared allies, 24% for Japan and 26% on all imports from India. He's calling these numbers kind and half of what these countries are supposedly charging the United States, but they will no doubt be shocking to Tokyo and New Delhi. I'm wondering if these Asian countries are going to take kindly, first of all, to what they're facing. And also, of course, I guess, how damaging is it going to be for Asian countries which are high on the tariff chart?
I mean, I have to think extremely damaging. You look at Vietnam, correct me if I get the number wrong here, but I think it was a 46% tariff imposed on Vietnam. Vietnam, as you know well, has been a major beneficiary of the relocation of production from China. Again, a policy that the U.S. pursued. The U.S. put pressure on companies to move out of China. Many of those companies have set up facilities in other parts of Southeast Asia, yet none of these countries was spared from high tariffs. So I think we have to imagine it's going to be extremely damaging for the economies in your region. In terms of their response, it's a very hard one. I mean, they can retaliate, but of course, retaliatory tariffs hurt your own people. They raise prices. They hurt your importers. In the executive order, the president has made it clear he may increase the duties if countries retaliate. I think what we're going to be seeing is a sort of scrambling for a collective response. I don't think any country is really, with the possible exception of the EU collectively, is really capable of hitting back on a level that will materially affect the United States and perhaps get Trump to change direction.
And for most Americans, I guess the key question would be, will this make their lives more expensive? How much economic strain can American consumers and industry bear from these far-reaching tariffs? And what's the timeline for when they will start feeling that impact?
I mean, I think, pretty quickly, as you've noted, these tariffs are going to be fully in place by the middle of next week. There'll be some grace period for shipments on the water, but I think in high profile items, cars being a very obvious one. The prices are going to go up. They're going to go up quickly. And I think Americans are going to feel that. By all accounts, one of the reasons Donald Trump was elected was the high inflation in the early years of the Biden administration. Americans want to see that brought under control. So I think you're going to see a pretty significant pushback. I think it's going to come pretty quickly. The Republicans, who, as you know, are so loyal to the president, are still engaged in wishful thinking. We have the chairman of the Powerful Ways and Means Committee still praising this as a negotiating tactic to get other countries to lower tariffs, as Trump did in his first term. But I don't think that's what we're looking at. We're looking at something fundamentally different. At Donald Trump trying to remake the American economy as a protected economy rather than an open economy. That is a radical, radical transformation that I don't think his supporters really get yet, but they will figure it out.
Okay. Edward, we'll have to end the conversation here for now. Thank you very much for talking to us. Edward Alden is Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations.